Hello, welcome. I'm Stgy here, and today, as a part of programming for problem solving, we will look at two-dimensional arrays in C. As we have seen that one-dimensional array is a collection of elements in a sequential manner into one subscript, two-dimensional arrays tend to arrange data in rows and columns fashion. And the moment I say row and column, the one thing that strikes us immediately is a matrix. Yes, if the data needs to be kept in two dimensions, that is rows and columns, then we prefer using a row two-dimensional arrays used to, something like periodic table, maths tables, sales information tables, data in spreadsheets, weather forecast, etc. Okay, so you require one more dimension to what you think about, and that's called as two-dimensional arrays. Since two-dimensional arrays uses two subscripts, they definitely require two loops, an inner loop and an outer loop, to get iterations and to read and write data. So what is a two-dimensional array? A two-dimensional array is a data put into two dimensions, rows and columns. It's such a kind of arrangement of data, but the data is stored row-wise contiguous. There are two major kinds of implementations of two-dimensional arrays, row major and column major. And generally we look at row major implementation where we feel that the elements are stored row-wise contiguous. Okay, so this is how a typical declaration of a two-dimensional array look like. You will get to write the type of the array, that's the data type name, array name, followed by two fixed sizes, row size and the column size. Row size and column size must be fixed and should be a constant or a defined value. Okay, so now how do I understand this? How is the memory stored? Say suppose the element a of 0, 0 is at 100, and expecting that it is an integer array of 2 by 3, that is 2 rows and 3 columns. Then the first element will be 0, 0, the second element will be at 0, 1, and the third element will be at 0, 2. Row increment, so the next element starts at 1, but the column number remains to be 0, so it is 1, 0, 1, 1, and 1, 2. This is just an illusion of how does the elements look. So therefore, if the first element is indexed at 100, the next element will be at 102, and the next element will be at 104, expecting that it is integer and occupies 2 bytes. And the array elements of two-dimensional array are stored row-wise contiguous. So therefore, the immediate next element, that is a of 10, will be stored at, this is 100, this is 102, this is 104, this will be stored at 106. And this at 108, and this at 110. And this is how a typical two-dimensional array storage look like. They store row-wise contiguous. How does the initialization of a two-dimensional array look like? Yes, initialization will have the same syntax as that of a one-dimensional array, but one more dimension increases. So data type space array name of row size, and column size is equal to, in the brackets, row into column number of elements separated by comma. So that's a simple syntax. Example, I have a 2 by 3 matrix. You know that how many elements? Number of elements in an array is equal to, two-dimensional array is equal to row size into column size. 2 into 3 is 6. So the maximum elements are 6 and the minimum elements are 0. Now, memory allocated is equal to row size into column size into, yes, it is size of data type, because size of data types clearly depend upon machine. It is row size into column size into size of data type. In this case, the table will require 2 into 3, that is 6. If my computer takes 2 bytes for integer, 6 into 2, which is equal to 12. 12 bytes is allocated when this kind of declaration is made. And the first three elements, that the first row is initialized to 0, and in this context, the second row is initialized to 1. There's another way of putting it, that is putting each row separately. So you can just have a row-wise separation by having a flower bracket and separate the flower brackets by comma. There's another extension to this. You can put it in new lines also. So that's the next one shows. You can also put it in new lines, and this is another kind of possible way. Yes, this is also possible, but what is omitted? Can the size be omitted? Yes, you can't omit both the size. Omitting both the sizes is illegal because the computer cannot, differentiate between rows and columns. You can omit one size, that is the number of rows. But mentioning the size of the second subscript, that is column, is must. Yes, arrays, 2D arrays can be initialized with missing size, but the missing size should only be row size, not both. Missing both is illegal, please remember. Next one. These are all the possible ways in which you can make. Can I have some values missed? It is 2 rows, each of 3 elements, but I have 1, 1. So the first 2 elements will be 1, 1, and the third element will be 0. In this row, there is only one element 2. So the element will be 2 and the rest 2 elements will be zeros. 2, 0, 0. That's how it is stored. Now, how about this? There are only just 3 rows. 3 is initialized to 0. Everything else will be initialized to 0. Yes. How do I generally work with 2D arrays? Or in other words, how do you read and write a 2D array? As we discussed, two-dimensional array requires two for loops. One for the first outer loop talks about row iteration, and the second inner loop talks about column iteration. So if I take a 2 by 3 matrix into consideration, the outer loop will run till less than 2 and the inner loop will run till less than 3. So this is how you're going to display your elements. It asks me like, as you are seeing on the screen, it just asks you for enter a value at 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, then again 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. And when you try to print it like a matrix, it in general, you need to use some, slashes and tab spaces so that it exactly looks like a matrix. So therefore, at the end of each row, you'll have this printf slash n coming into picture. Only then it gets printed like a matrix. Otherwise, it just gets printed like a sequential list of elements. So after each row, you have a slash n that gets your cursor to the next row and then prints your elements, which give a feel of a matrix. The point to be remembered is reading and writing of a two-dimensional array requires two loops. The outer loop talks about always rows and the inner loop always talks about columns. Yes, this is a simple program where we are trying to add two matrices. So addition of two matrices is similar kind of index addition. So therefore A, B, and C, you read the sizes, then check if column 1 is equal to column 2 or not. Read the elements of matrix A, read the elements of matrix B, then similarly add it into similar places. C of ij is equal to A of ij plus B of ij. Because the matrix order is same, the resultant matrix can be of any order, either the order of A or the order of B. This is a simple example. Okay, let's look at and go ahead and look at something called multidimensional arrays. Also a very prominent and important, real-time entity. Yes. I was not okay with one-dimensional arrays, so we moved ahead and looked at two-dimensional arrays. Now, are two-dimensional arrays always enough for you to help with your computations? Imagine I want to store the top 5 people of a particular branch. Let us assume that I want to store the top 5 people of a particular branch. Let us assume that I want to store toppers of CSE. Top 5 toppers of CSE this year. Okay, in the first sem. Okay. When you have been to the second semester, we were asked to find out the top 5 people of both first semester and second semester. It might be the same people or it might be the different people. So therefore, I need to have 2 such 5 holders. In a box of 5, I just kept the toppers of this semester. When I have been to the next semester, I was asked to put, toppers of both the second semester also. So therefore, I need to have such a collection of 5 elements, another such collection. So it becomes A of 2, 5, a two-dimensional array. Now, when I have been to, I was asked to produce the toppers of both first and second semester for the last 3 years of CSE. For the last 3 years of CSE. That means I require 3 times of, what is this called? 2 times of 5. 3 into 2 into 5. Therefore, yes, here we are. This is a general context. And now what we are talking about is a multi-dimensional array. And if there are more than 2 dimensions to the data, we generally call it as multi-dimensional arrays. And yes, C language allows you to create a multi-dimensional array. Here is one such an example of A of 3, 3, 3, B of 5, 4, 5, 3, etc. Okay, they are all called multidimensional arrays, and this is how you initialize. Declaration and initialization can just become simple. So I recommend you to just have a look at multidimensional arrays and try to write a program on your own and understand that. Before we close, I want everyone to take a pen and a paper and try to write a possible codes to find the sum of elements of a row and to find the transpose of a matrix, and also to read and write and print just the diagonal elements of a matrix, both the diagonals, both the diagonals of the matrix. So try doing this. And before, try doing this on your own and we'll see how far is that working out. Okay, so, but remember, you got to study about multidimensional arrays. Good day.